Welcome to Infinite IAS KS, the Hindu Simplified for UPSC and KPSC KS examinations of July 29. Let's see the topics. Student protests, Supreme Court's interim direction, Kaveri Water Regulatory Committee order on the Kaveri water release. Actual release may need to be higher with respect to the Kaveri water river. Industrial growth reaches 7.3%. Discom launches PM E-Drive portal. Gen A report on higher education. Mekeda dispute continues. Anti-paper leak bill debated in Lok Sabha. Western Ghats eco-sensitive area draft reissued. Multiple dengue serotypes circulating. Solar power curtailment and rooftop solar. Space Tech funding led by the Bengaluru. Oman proposes Hormuz fee framework. Sharmila wins para shot put gold. Kushare wins historic high jump silver. Boxing and weightlifting medals to the Preeti and Priya assured. Ajay Babu wins 79 kg silver. So let's see the issues now. So the Supreme Court recently gave a directions on students' protests, detentions and police excesses. It was in news recently. It considered a petitions alleging disproportionate police force and illegal detentions during the protest over examination paper leaks. The court indicated that it may constitute a high-powered committee, a team for thorough, fair and independent inquiry. So the key interim directions include release of minors. All minors detained in connection with the protest must be released immediately. A simple bond may be used where required. Coercive action. Police were restricted from taking coercive actions against protesting students unless they had criminal antecedents. Very important. Investigation of FIRs. State authorities were permitted to continue investigating the existing FIRs. Preservation of the evidences like CCTV footage, drone recordings, body camera footage, wireless records, PCR call records must be preserved. So, possible independent probe. The court will decide after receiving the responses from the Union, Delhi, and the notified states. So, the court's stand is, which is stated, the bench underlined the constitutional protection of peaceful protest. See, the constitutional protection of the peaceful protest is linked to the Article 19 of the Constitution, Indian Constitution. You have to link in that way. It said allegations of excesses should be examined through a scientific and evidence-based inquiry. The proposed inquiry would also consider complaints from families of the police personnel allegedly injured during the protest. So this is what about the issue. So let's move on to the next issue. Public Examinations Amendment Bill, Government and Opposition Debate. Okay. So if we see the core provisions of the bill which is discussed in the Lok Sabha, yesterday also we had a discussion about the bill, and if you can see here some of the details. So punishment which is prescribed is at around 10 years of imprisonment and a fine of up to 50 lakh rupees. Special courts, a special fast track courts for offences relating to the public examination to be constituted. So, and the completion of the investigation deadline to be within 2 months. That is the most important point. And the trial timeline, if you can see, within the 3 months from the filing of the charge sheet should be completed. A special task force center may refer an investigation to a specially constituted special task force. Okay. So these are some of the points which is being discussed in the Lok Sabha with regard to the public examinations bill. And if you can see some of the points, other points, government described the amendment as a stronger deterrent against the organized examination related crime and a mechanism for a speedy justice. The opposition called it as an admission that the 2024 law had not worked adequately, and adequate argued that punishment alone would not replace the structural reforms. And at the same time, opposition also questioned the government on the status of the K. Radhakrishnan Committee recommendations and institutional accountability in the National Testing Agency. Okay, so the K. Radhakrishnan Committee is also associated with the public examinations reforms. So you have to remember that committee as well. So these are all the general guidelines or a bill which brings. So let's move on to the next topic. Kaveri Water Regulatory Committee directs Karnataka to release Kaveri water to Tamil Nadu. Order and immediate response includes daily flow must be 3,500 cusecs at the Biligundlu Interstate Measuring Gauge. So the duration for 15 days beginning at 8 am on July 29th, and total quantity about 4 TMC FT. So Karnataka's response with respect to this is, state said it would examine an appeal before the Kaveri Water Management Authority before releasing the water. So the recommendation came from Kaveri Water Regulatory Committee, but Karnataka would like to go with the Kaveri Water Management Authority to release the water and use priority. Karnataka argued that available water storage was barely sufficient for the drinking water. With the drought situation in Karnataka, Karnataka also has held that there will be no water for the irrigation in that particular region. So the hydrological position placed before the committees are included, like Karnataka reported cumulative inflow into the 4 Kaveri reservoirs at 65% an approximate below the 30-year average for the current water year. Tamil Nadu at the same time had received 3.543 TMC FT by 26 July against the prescribed 35,391 TMC FT and claimed a backlog of 9.46 TMC feet. Okay, so this is what the difference. Kaveri Water Management Authority earlier asked both states to restrict reservoir use to the drinking water purposes because the basin was under the distress. Karnataka had already informed the farmers that water would not be released for the irrigation due to the drought situation or monsoon situation in the Karnataka. So this is about the Kaveri Water Management Authority as well as the Kaveri Water Management Regulatory Committee. So why the actual release from KRS and Kabini may need to be higher channel loss problem, because the Kaveri Water Regulatory Committee specified the flow to be measured at the Biligundlu. Experts cited in the report said Karnataka may need to release substantially more water from KRS and Kabini. Dry riverbeds, bank storage, groundwater recharge, channel losses can reduce the quantity that finally reaches the interstate gauge. So the indicators include the required flow at the Biligundlu. So reported figure, okay, 3,500 cusecs a day. Possible release at source, approximately 6,000 to 7,000 cusecs to be released at the source. Present combined release from the KRS and Kabini is around 2045 cusecs as of 28 July. Storage in 4 reservoirs, if you can see, it is 63.25 TMC FT, about 55% of the full capacity of the 114.57 TMC FT. So KR storage is about 34% of its capacity. So the state rainfall, if you can see, about 35%. Southwest monsoon supplies about 73 to 75% of the annual rainfall. Okay. So these are all some of the facts you need to remember with respect to the river issue. Let's move on to the next topic. Mekedatu row. Tamil Nadu seeks Prime Minister's intervention. So the Tamil Nadu Chief Minister had asked the Prime Minister, no statutory or administrative approval be granted unless the project is demonstrably consistent with the Kaveri Tribunal Award and the Supreme Court judgment. This is what the CM of Tamil Nadu has stated. He sought the withdrawal of the Union Minister's Rajya Sabha reply that 2018 Kaveri judgment did not stipulate consent of lower riparian states. He also cited that Alamatti judgment to argue that lower riparian consent is necessary and stressed that a state's power to regulate water must remain consistent with the tribunal's order. Okay, so he is not happy with this, and he is also has written to the Prime Minister regarding his intervention with respect to the water dispute. So, center's reply with respect to this is that 2018 Kaveri judgment does not expressly mention that Karnataka must obtain the consent of Tamil Nadu, Kerala, Puducherry before constructing a structure across the Kaveri. So, this is what the center has given in the judgment with respect to the Kaveri issues. Tamil Nadu's objection to this is settled legal principles and the requirement of consistency with the tribunal's regulated flow framework must guide the project approval. So this is what the Chief Minister of Tamil Nadu is expecting. So this is about the issue. Let's move on to the another issue. So India's industrial growth reaches 23-month high. So if you can see the indicators over here, overall IIP growth is 7.3%. If you can see here, fastest in July 2024, 5.1% in May 2026. Manufacturing, if you can see, it is 7.8%, 5.5% in May, 2.4% in June. At the same time, you can observe the other figures as well: electricity and gas supply, capital goods, intermediate goods, consumer durables, and non-consumable like consumer non-durables. Okay. So if you can see the total indicators, it has risen to the 23-month high. So if you can interpret in this way, interpretation reported in the article includes the rise was described as broad-based, supported by manufacturing output, domestic demand, and investment-linked sectors. Heat wave conditions contributed to the strong electricity demand. A favorable base effect may also have the supported the rate. Analysts also remained cautious because of a weaker than expected monsoon and uncertainty rising from the West Asia conflicts. So other factors also can contribute to the reduction of these figures. That is what the analysts are cautious about. So this is about the issue. Let's move on to the next news. BESCOM opens PM e-Drive portal for the private charge point operators. The scheme framework, if you can see here, category 1, category 2 and category 3, that is classified as category A, B and C. Central and state governments offices, hospitals and government residential complexes are covered under the category A. Category B includes government owned or managed public locations such as railway stations, airports, metro stations, PSU fuel outlets, KSRTC and STU bus stations. Category C includes private charging point operators developing public EV charging infrastructure. So with respect to implementation in Karnataka, if you can see here, BESCOM is the nodal agency for the implementation of the scheme. Very important. Ministry of Heavy Industries scheme has a total outlay of 10,900 crores, including the 2,000 crore for public charging station up to March 2028. This point you have to remember for the upcoming examinations. A two-stage expression of interest process will first verify the technical and operational capability and then accept the location proposal. Up to 800 category C locations will be processed on a first come, first served basis, subject to the guidelines. Charging configuration have been standardized for urban and the highway locations. So this is what the implementation scenario with respect to the PM E-Drive scheme in Karnataka. India as a growth market for the Germany. This is the next issue. With respect to the tourism and aviation, Germany National Tourist Office announced four 2026 campaign themes: culture, city life, cuisine, and nature. Lufthansa confirmed some kind of billion fleet in investment and plans to double the capacity on the Mumbai Munich route using the Airbus A380. Swiss International Airlines will add the Zurich Bengaluru services. Fuel efficiency was identified as the priority in fleet decisions. Okay, so to boost the tourism, Germany has identified some of the places to connect it. So this you have to remember. Let's move on to the next topic. Gen AI draft report calls for rethinking higher education. So the report focus is about higher education. Head held highs foundations. People First AI Initiative, Gen AI, released the draft report on transforming Indian higher education for the AI-enabled future. The report examines the simultaneous expansion of higher education and widespread student use of the generative AI. Okay, so you have to know what is Gen AI. Okay, so problems highlighted includes assessment system emphasize completion rather than demonstrated ability, insufficient faculty support and institutional guidance for AI use, weak links between content coverage, problem solving and industry level relevance, unequal access to AI enabled learning opportunities. Those seven strategic shifts are examples reported in the report includes content coverage towards problem-centered learning, completion-based assessment for demonstrable capacity, one-time faculty training for sustained faculty enablement, fragment and response, collaboration to reduce the fragmented response. We need to have collaboration among governments, institutions, industry and civil society. So this is about the issue. Let's move on to the next article or news. Center reissues Western Ghats eco-sensitive area draft. So what the draft proposes? Let's see the points here. Environment Ministry reissued the draft for the seventh time. Public objections may be filed for the 60 days. The proposed ESA remains 56,825.7 square kilometer across Gujarat, Maharashtra, Goa, Karnataka, Kerala and Tamil Nadu. Remember the states and also number of state it passes through. So Gujarat, Maharashtra, Goa, Karnataka, Kerala and Tamil Nadu. It has been asked in the previous examination and also remember the eco-sensitive area, how much it is in kilometer or square kilometer. So mining, quarrying and sand mining, new thermal power plants, specified industries and large constructions project would be prohibited. Hydropower would be regulated. See, you have to know which is prohibited, which is regulated. The center and the six states continue to differ over the villages and areas to be included and or possible impacts on the farming, plantations, infrastructure and development. So if you can see here, the state-wise eco-sensitive area in square kilometer, Karnataka it is 20,668. For Maharashtra it is 17,340. For Kerala it is 9,993.7. For Tamil Nadu it is 6,914. Goa 1,461. Gujarat it is, I think it is the least one. Okay, 449. Okay, you can see here the so higher and the lower eco-sensitive areas with respect to the states. You have to remember the flow of the states as well with respect to the square kilometer which is being described as eco-sensitive area. So some of the points with related to the report includes the Madhav Ghatgil panel had recommended a treating the entire 1,29,000 square kilometer of Western Ghat chain as the ecologically sensitive with graded protection. So K. Kasturirangan group later recommended ESA status for the about 37% of the Ghats covering 59,940 square kilometer of natural landscape. So remember it. So it is of natural landscape. The latest draft contains no substantive changes from the July 2024 draft in an area, state-wise extent or regulatory provisions. Okay. So the eco-sensitive area which is proposed over here remains the same. Okay. If you can see here, these are the figures which are same according to the recent drafts. Remember these figures as well only because these figures are only expected in the next examination. So let's move on to the next topic. Study finds multiple dengue stereotypes circulating together. So the study by Pan India Molecular Surveillance of Dengue Serotypes 2023 to 2025 has found these findings. The coverage includes 6,889 confirmed samples from the 45 laboratories in 25 states and union territories. So if you can see here, the predominant serotype was DEN-V2 accounting for more than half of the infection. So you have to remember this. The predominant serotype of dengue which is being circulating is DEN-V2. So all four serotypes detected in 8 states and union territories. So the three serotypes detected simultaneously in 15 states and union territories. The current infection around 7% of the patient had two or more serotypes at the same time. So concerns with respect to this related to the public health includes concurrent infections were associated with the study with severe manifestations such as very low platelet count, bleeding complications and severe joint pain. The co-circulation of the several serotype was described as an indicator of dengue hyperendemicity. So continuous serotype surveillance was considered most important because vaccine performance can vary across the strain. Dominant serotypes can change. So this is what the concerns has been raised. So let's move on to the next topic. Solar power curtailment and PM Surya Ghar progress. Grid operators curtailed solar generation to maintain the grid security and because transmission line commissioning did not always match the commissioning of the renewable energy projects. Curtailment means limiting output from generators to preserve grid stability. So, some of the figures we can see here how much of the solar energy has been curtailed over the recent months. It was in April, May, June, and April to June total. It was, if you can see here, total 8,133 gigawatt of solar energy curtailment was done. So if you can observe here some of the figures which is related to the capacity and rooftop solar data. So indicator here reported figures. Installed solar capacity as of June 30th is around 162.15 gigawatt. Utility scale capacity is around 125.6 gigawatt. Rooftop capacity is around 30.11 gigawatt. Off-grid capacity we can see here 6.43 gigawatt. PM Surya Ghar applications more than 75 lakh as of 22 July. Installed rooftop system more than 39.7 lakh and 14,880.90 megawatt cumulative capacity. Households reached with respect to this scheme include more than 48 lakh. So the central financial assistance released for the scheme includes rupees 27,343.9 crore up to the 27 June. Okay. So please do remember the gigawatts of energy which has been as an indicator for the rooftop solar data. So let's move on to the next topic. Bengaluru leads India's space tech funding ecosystem. So funding in 2025, if you can see, it was around $200 million. Bengaluru share was more than half of the 2025 funding. Cumulative sector funding reported about $871 million as of July 2026. Firms mapped are active. 285 mapped are active, 274 active firms are there. So firms requiring equity fundings includes around 75. They might not ask the figures, but you have to know that Bengaluru is leading the space tech funding ecosystem. So the top funded firms cited include Skyroot Aerospace. Okay. So it was in news recently with respect to launching of some satellite. So please do remember this. It was in news repeatedly. It has got $150 million as a funding. So that is a top funded private firm. So the trend and concentration, if you can see, annual funding rose from $43 million to in 2021 to 200 million in 2025. The seed stage funding increased from 7 million in 2022 to 620 million in 2025. Later stage funding appeared at 17 million in 2025 and 53 million in 2026 year to till date, indicating movements toward the pre-commercial operations for some firms. The top 10 funded firms accounted for more than 60% of the total funding. The recent rise was driven by a few large rounds rather than the broad-based deal growth. Okay, so this is about the financial funding of space in India with respect to the Bengaluru. So let's move on to the next topic. Oman proposes a voluntary free framework for the use of the Strait of Hormuz. The proposals include Oman presented Iran with the Gulf-backed proposal to manage the Strait of Hormuz and collect voluntary fees from the ships using a waterway. The plan was presented as possible basis for the ending disruption to the strait. Iran would not exercise sole control under the proposal and the fees would remain voluntary. The suggested model was compared with the arrangements around the Strait of Malacca, where voluntary contributions support navigation, environmental protection, search and rescue operations. A Western diplomat compared the idea to voluntary carbon offset payments by airline passengers. The clipping reported that Iran had not formally responded to the proposal. Till now, there is no response from the Iran with respect to the proposal which has been presented by the Oman. So let's move on to the next article. So it is related to the sports. Recently in Commonwealth Games, Sharmila Dhankar wins the India's first para-athletic golds at the games. So if you can see here the athlete and event and the result and key reported details. Sharmila Dhankar gold women's category para shot put at F57. So and at the same time Shilpa Shaila bronze. She has got the bronze in women's para shot put F57. F57 is for the athletes with lower limb impairments, limb deficiencies or reduced muscle power. You have to remember what is that F57. Okay. Sharmila, who had polio at the age of 2, had earlier won gold at the FASA International Para Athletic Championship and finished fourth at the 2022 Birmingham Games. So next, Sarvesh Kushare clinches a historic high jump silver. Kushare won in the men's high jump, the first Indian silver in an able-bodied athletes at the games, and the first silver by an Indian high jumper at the event. He and Jamaica's Romaine Beckford cleared 2.2 meter, but Beckford won the gold on the countback after clearing the height on his first attempt. Kushare cleared it in the third attempt. So Tejaswin Shankar withdrew after failing his opening at the 2.5-meter attempt because of severe knee tendonitis and said would focus on recovery for the decathlon. So next article, it's again related to the sports and boxing and weightlifting. So Preeti Pawar Priya Ghangas assured of boxing medals. Preeti Pawar in women's 54 kg. She defeated Nicole Claude of Northern Ireland and assured of the at least bronze. Priya Gangas in women's 60 kg category defeated Scotland's Nihama Mitchell and assured a medal. Praveen Huda in women's 65 kg category lost to England's Sacha Hickey. Preeti won the opening round unanimously and maintained control through the moment, jabs and uppercuts. She credited her Belfast training camp where she had sparred with Craig before the games. Next, Ajay Babu wins men's 79 kg weightlifting silver. So in total of okay. So Ajay Babu in snatch category of 149 kg games record, 181 kg clean and jerk, total 330 kg for the silver, and gold medalist, if you can see, 147 kg. It is actually less than 2 kg of the Ajay Babu, and 184 kg in the clean and jerk round. So in total 331 kg. It is just 1 kg difference here. Just remember it. It is very tricky and in examination they might ask it. So the 21-old year from Kondalavela Gada village in Andhra Pradesh finished only 1 kg behind the Malaysian winner. Okay. His father Valluri Srinivasa Rao had won bronze medal in the men's 56 kg category at the 2010 Commonwealth Games. Remember this, his father is also a weightlifter. Nirupama Devi failed all three 123 kg clean and jerk attempts in the women's 63 kg final and finished fifth after the 93 kg snatch. So this is about the news analysis of the Hindu newspaper. So for more such newspaper analysis, please do subscribe our YouTube channel. If the content you feel is good, please have a comment in the comment section and please do like our video. Thank you and all the best for your preparation.